Tony, I really enjoyed the hammer-ons you used to carry the melody. Could you show us a little bit more of that and
Well,
how you developed that?
you know, John, the playing without the pick attack creates a very smooth tone, and I think a song like a particular ballad, you know, that we have here, "Broken Dreams," it lends itself to that particular type of technique. Um, for an example here, if we take an F sharp minor scale on the same string. We play that in groups of 3 notes at a time, starting with the A, a third above the highest F sharp. We get a very bell-like sound, you know? It's a very interesting idea. I can carry that in different keys, you know? As I hold down these particular notes, you know, my left hand is particularly involved with creating different chord tones, you know. So that's where I utilize the bar to enhance the vibrato. I really like the smoothness of the hammer-on ideas. It's very evident in the solo of the song. I think the progression shifts to A minor, and I start really, you know, playing on, you know, the open without the pick at all. Just with a lot of arm weight, you can achieve that smooth tone.
There was some bending, you know, where you were just taking the note a little bit farther than it is when it's inside the fret as it normally belongs to.
Exactly.
Can you show me, you know, some of the technique you use to change the pitch of the notes when you're...
Yeah, you know, a lot of times you know, I'll take the actual. It creates again that bowed, you know, that bowed effect instead of, you know, actually bending to the next note. Just it's a very hammered.
It's more modern sounding.
Yeah, it's a
actually.
smoother sweeping. That's the same idea, but slurring the other way, in the opposite direction.
When you were playing the core of the melody, I noticed that you were dragging the hammer on. Just it made it flow really, really nicely.
Right. Yeah, sure. Because the song is a ballad, you know, a lot of the melodies have to be played with a lot of feeling, a lot of passion in them. And if I
If
can
you're just grabbing the note staccato, it's not going to have the same.
exactly, and that's why, you know, when I tend to you know, play with a hammered-on pattern, I notice that my hand is moving in more of a, you know, fashion this way instead of up and down, because the pick is no longer being employed as a sound device. Now the actual, you know, technique of pulling off to each finger is going to generate the tone. For instance, I can play an A minor all over the neck with this type of pattern instead of just playing an A minor scale in one box finger. I'll utilize that movement.
in previous interview situations we've talked before, one of the things you've pointed out to me is you don't like to be boxed in. You don't like to be caught in a trap where you're in one place and there's only one way out.
Right. Precisely.
Did you utilize that at all in this song, where you could have gone several different ways in the same place?
Well, it happened, and it happens when we do multiple takes of things, especially on records, and especially in an environment where you're doing in a video, because you want to develop the sense of the feeling that you can really go a place where your mind where your mind is and your hands are just the tools to get you there.
Because I've always thought, Tony, that the greatest skill as a musician is completely free and can go wherever his brain wants to take him with masterment of an instrument.
It is the dangerous part about practicing too many ideas which are could stagnate your creativity, is that you have to learn how to apply them in different facets. For instance, like this hammer-on idea that we're talking about in the key of A minor. Go ahead and stretch it to the key of A major and things like that, just by raising your third tone in the A minor scale, A major. The sixth and seventh tones get raised also. So now I'm playing the same idea where I was moving my hands around the neck, but I'm doing it now in major keys.
Do you consciously think when you're playing of what it would sound like if you played a melody in one part of the neck as compared to another?
Yes.
Do you incorporate that into?
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes, if I'm in a pattern where I'm involved in playing a particular melody in a song, and because this is instrumental music, there's no break from actually playing the actual, the lead tones. If I'm involved with the task of playing a particular melody, and I'd like to highlight it with certain little leads, I won't try not to develop an idea or a habit where I have to play it in one pattern. For instance, the bridge part of Broken Dreams, where it's, I might do some licks around that, instead of having to go. Play that pattern over here. So definitely, I definitely encourage people to try to practice as many ideas all around the neck, and try to get used to creating a whole sweet spot, where the whole guitar is a friendly place for you to be.
Tony, in the bridge, there's some harmonic thirds. How do you know which notes to pick?
Well, I'm following the harmonic structure of the minor chord, or the major chord if I happen to be playing in a major chord. This particular song, for example, is a minor, and each scale has its own tonality, which you'd have to adhere to. The F sharp minor, the first third is a minor chord, F sharp and A. The next third in G sharp is major. The next one is major, major. Each one are broken chords. So like Eddie Van Halen when he... I tend to also use my ear and go by how I feel it should sound.
So the next song is More Than a Lot. There's a lot in this song. We'll get into it later, but let's hear the song first. Very interesting. There's a lot there to think about. I enjoyed the counterpoint, and also the solo sounded really interesting to me. What's the...
Well, the difference in the solo in that particular song is it's a major key.
Right.
It's a lot fresher, lot cleaner. I like to think, of an idea. It's less dark because of the raised third is in 6 and 7 tone in the major scale, as opposed to those being flatted in the minor scale, which creates a darker image. And I wanted the solo to actually go to a certain place. Instead of being dark, and heavy, I wanted to actually have a certain type of contrast, with the song.
Tony, you mentioned chord suspension. Do you think that's something young players should pursue more than you?
I think so. It's one of the things I always stress with some of my students is playing rhythm ideas, a rhythm structure, and then continually hearing that in your head while you play a lead over the alternating chords. In other words, an example of that would be to start with like an E chord, and by chromatically going up at least, let's say, four different frets. We'll address the harmonic structure of each of those chords in our soloing without losing the rhythmic aspect of what we're trying to do. The continually the E drone, it sort of permeates over the whole progression. Yeah, that's in this particular song, More Than Enough. That's exactly what we got going on here in the solo section. Even with the idea with the pentatonics, I'm doing the same thing. I like to think I'm like superimposing different chords over other chords. This, in essence, would be like a. If you think of that, it would be a C sharp minor pentatonic run. But over E major, it's very major sounding.
In essence, what you're saying with those chord suspensions, that you're creating some tension.
Exactly, and I like to try to include that in my soloing, especially with the arpeggiated ideas. I believe at the end of the solo in this particular song, I went outside of the actual E major, feel by stretching all the way up to F sharp. I kind of like the ideas too that the when you're bending a certain note, you get that 3 chord, you get that 3 chord feeling, and you get that third tone in there. It's another idea on that.
Another of the little nuances I noticed, Tony, is you're sliding backwards as you're playing some of the notes in the melody. Can you show us some of that?
Yeah, I think I derived that technique from listening to a lot of the early blues stuff that I used to listen to, the Johnny Winter stuff, and just creating more of a backwards bend. Mm-hmm. That melody, it's very it's a very very fresh type of different way. I think in terms of instead of coming under the note, come from the top of the note. I do that a lot too. At the end of particular runs that I might play. Just,
it adds a real different feel to them.
Yeah, it adds a different type of dimension to what you're trying to express.
Well, that kind of takes us in the direction of the next song, Baloney Pony Blues. Is that what we're going to call it?
I think that's what it's called. Don't ask me what that's all about.
Can we check that one out?
Let's take a listen to that.